I actually distinctly remember somebody asking me when I was an editorial assistant at InStyle if I wanted to be editor-in-chief, and I said, no, that sounds like too much work.
I'm Sally Christensen, the founder and CEO of Argent, a women's workwear brand. And this is Work Friends, a podcast for those who take their work, but not always themselves, seriously.
Work Friends.
Today on Work Friends, I'm joined by Nikki Ogunnaike. Nikki's the editor-in-chief of Marie Claire. Before taking the helm over 2 years ago, she stacked her resume with roles at some of the most prestigious fashion publications in the world, including InStyle, Glamour, Elle, GQ, and Harper's Bazaar. She's covered the major moves in the capital F fashion industry, dived deep into celebrity style, and is a certifiable shopping expert. Since stepping into her role at Marie Claire and launching her own podcast, Nice Talk, Nikki has also become a leader on power, what it means, and the women who wield it for good. She's certainly among them as well. Today we'll discuss her nearly 2 decade spanning career and how she's making a mark leading a historic publication. Now on Work Friends, Nikki Ogunnaike. Hello, Nikki. Welcome to Work Friends.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I was recently on your podcast, Nice Talk, and I've been looking forward to turning the tables ever since. So here we are. Here we go.
Here we are.
I mentioned this, but I am not only a fan of your work, but you as a human, and we featured you in our Work Friends series this past season. And so we have your image displayed in our stores and in our catalog. And every single time I feel like someone comes through, they're like, oh, I love Nikki. Oh, let's talk about Nikki.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, really just a great personal reputation, which we love.
That's so nice.
Before we jump into things, because I want to hear about life as an editor and your background, I want to hear about your biggest oh no moment this week. What's gone absolutely sideways and how did you handle it?
Ooh, that's so good. What has gone sideways? Well, it's review season and I haven't done my reviews yet. So exactly. Well, that's the oh no of it. I'm like, oh no, it's coming. I have to do these things. And I don't know, we'll get to it. But that sort of stuff, I'm just like, you know, you have to do it, but it's like, I'd rather just do the more creative things.
I'll be honest, this is like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm terrible at. Reviews are my least favorite thing.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
It's Cisco. It took me weeks because you would have to do like 360 reviews of literally every person you touch ever, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's like mustering up that energy to have some like, sometimes really great conversations and sometimes really depleting conversations. And and you want to be cognizant of like the time in which this is all happening, right? So it's the end of the year. You want to be on vacation. You're hoping to like just wrap things up. And it's just that last thing that's like, oh, hey, by the way, here's some feedback for you.
Yes.
Let's see how this goes.
Opportunities.
Learning experiences, teachable moments, you know?
Sounds like you're good at it.
Oh, you know.
Yeah, that's that really falls into my nightmare category of work. I'm an entrepreneur, you know. I want to be like building and making and jazz
You want to be vibing. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back to the beginning. You grew up in Virginia. What part of Virginia? I feel like there are 2 parts of Virginia. There's like the DC part of Virginia, which is very urban, and then there's like the South.
Yes. So I grew up in the DC part of Virginia.
Okay.
So Springfield, Virginia, right outside of DC, 30 minutes outside of DC. We went to church every Sunday in DC. So I have the very sort of like urban influence. My parents moved from DC to Virginia in the 70s. They came from Nigeria. And so we, you know, it's interesting. I have a bit of the sort of like Nigerian immigrant background, but also in Virginia. I'm the last of 3. So I also think by that point, my parents were like, we're doing our best, but like we're done here, right? Like wrap it up. Exactly. And they were great, but it's definitely like, you know, a lot of sort of, they learned a lot from the way that they like parented my older sister and my older brother. And then I was the baby. So growing up in Virginia, and then I went to college at University of Virginia. So that was like my, oh wow, Virginia is the South.
Yeah, you know, I didn't realize you went there until we were preparing for this episode. UV is an incredible school,
It's
but yes,
great.
a very different Virginia than where you grew up.
A very different Virginia, a very like Southern school. So I was exposed to, you know, like my best friends at UVA, like one girl's from Tennessee, like one girl is from, and I say that, but I'm like, I don't know anything. It's like, with Tennessee, I'm like, I don't know anything about this. And like, you know, in high school, because my brother and my sister are older than me, like Lola was in New York by the time I went to college, and my brother went to MIT. So I only sort of knew the North. And then when I went to college, it's like, oh, this is the proper South. Like this guy's from Alabama. You know?
Oh yeah. Well, I grew up in South Carolina as also a first generation immigrant. So my dad's Turkish.
Yeah.
So we shared this, but I grew up like deeply in the South.
Yeah.
Like on a farm with a stoplight. So
and it's just different like codes of conduct, different codes of just like ways that people operate. And I was very naive to that, but I think it helped me, frankly. So I got to UVA and I was like, yeah, I'm going to join a sorority. And it's rare for like black girls from Nigeria to join, you know, predominantly white sororities. But I was like, I don't know, these girls are cool. And the girls in my dorm are rushing. So like, I guess I'll do the same.
I'm a Muslim girl that joined a sorority and I'm like the antithesis of all things sorority, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But it was kind of what you do.
Yeah.
I do think that exposure at that age probably was great for you though, because it's like you're bringing something different too that is sort of that urban experience that a lot of people from the South do not always get exposure to.
Yeah, 100%. And I think for me it was just an exercise in just understanding different walks of life. And I'll never forget, I think it was when Trump was elected or somebody, there was like, there's no way that this guy could win. And I was like, well, you underestimate people who don't live in our little New York bubble.
Yeah, I'm going to be reminded of that soon when I go home for the holidays. A lot of red hats. I want to hear about the influence that coming from Nigerian parents had on your upbringing, and what do you now appreciate most about that experience?
Yeah, I think that growing up with like Nigerian parents and also two older siblings who were also just sort of like excellent in what they did. So Lola is an incredible journalist and paved the way, not just for me, but for a lot of young black journalists, like period, full stop. And then my brother went to MIT, and then from MIT, he went to Wharton. So there was a concentration on excellence growing up in the home. It was the common, you understand this, it's the common sort of immigrant mentality when if you bring home a B+ a 90, your parents are like, well, where's the rest?
It's
like,
funny, I didn't have that actually.
You didn't? Okay. There was that sort of excellence, which I have carried with me. I think that continues to just sort of color the way I do everything. If you're going to do something, you try to do it to the best of your ability. And you know, my parents, they tried with the like doctor, lawyer, engineer, but there was really no way that was going to happen. Like pretty early on, I think they were kind of like, I don't think it's going to happen. Like I did plays and choir in high school. Like there was always sort of like this, not theater kid, but a creative sort of bend to me. But it was definitely like, okay, so if you can't get the soprano lead, then you're going to get the alto lead. Like there was just that sort of like being good or being excellent at everything you do. Taking pride in your work was huge. Taking pride in your style and the way that you dress was like really important. There's a lot of focus just on like presentation, which I think completely colors the way that I see the world now.
Well, I want to ask about both. I want to ask about early examples of work that you witnessed. So you've touched on your siblings. I imagine it predates that. Who were you looking to, and what did you think that meant for you in the future?
That's such a good question. I mean, my parents both worked in retail. So my dad was a manager at CVS. My mom was a manager at Staples. And it really, in both of those roles, it was just a concentration on, management, honestly, and like leadership in those roles. And so I always saw that leadership was available to me. And that sort of like colored the way that I saw things.
Did you spend time at work with either of them?
I did. I spent a lot of time with my dad at work, which was really interesting. And because when you do these sorts of things, you start piecing together your sort of origin story. And I spent a lot of time in the magazine aisle with my dad at work, or I spent a lot of time at Borders bookstore or Barnes and Nobles, like waiting for my mom to get out of work. So that's when I was reading YM and Teen People and 17 and Glamour. And so a lot of that was, I spent a lot of time just sort of like killing time reading magazines. And then because my sister is 10 years older than me, she sort of, and my brother also is 6 years older than me, they introduced me to like music and the arts around that. So Lola, when she moved to New York, wrote a lot for the New York Times, and she wrote for the New York Times when she was in grad school.
That's awesome.
Right. So that's the sort of thing.
Casual.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it's like, but it was, because I was like, oh, that's just my sister, but she's on the front page of the New York Times style section, or she's working at the Times when she's 27.
It's so funny how normal things can be when you're young. You're like, of course, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Like Lola is living this Sex in the City life, and she has this 1-bedroom apartment in Chelsea, and like we're going to the box, and the doorman at the box is like, oh, let her in. She works at the New York Times. You know?
Yes.
So that's the sort of stuff that, like, when I sort of arrived in New York or in New York 10 years later, or actually when I arrived to do my internship at Harper's Bazaar in 2005, she was very much like, don't embarrass me. I will get you in the door. And I always say that she got me in the door. Like, I have no problem with that. But there was very much an understanding that I was not to embarrass her and that I was supposed to do my best work possible.
Mm-hmm. That's sibling love, you know?
Absolutely.
That's so typical. I also think that that's a very consistent experience that you had as a child, because same for me. It's like you shadow your parents at work. I was with my dad constantly. Yes. But you have to entertain yourself.
Yeah.
And technology was not technology, so it's like, good luck. Here's piece of paper and a pen.
There was nothing to do. It was like, oh, do you want to stand next to the person and help them like bag?
Yes.
Play cashier for a little bit?
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, this sounds great. What else am I going to do? My homework? Like, no, I want to read magazines. I'll play cashier. It's funny. My sister growing up would be like, how do you know this like Michael McDonald song? You're 10. And it's like, well, but that's the music that they were playing.
Yeah.
In the aisle.
On repeat?
So it's like, so I know all this like 80s yacht rock because that's what they were playing at CBS.
Lucky you.
I know.
A simpler time. And then early examples of fashion. I want to hear about that. When did that become an interest? And obviously you're talking about consuming magazines.
Yeah.
But who were you looking up to?
Sunday's finest was really big in my house. So like getting dressed, because my parents wore uniforms throughout the week, mm-hmm. getting dressed for church on Sunday was like the moment, right? And I remember growing up, my mom would have in the closet like stacks of Delman Flats boxes. So that was the thing. I just like wanted a pair of Delman Flats. And watching TV like here and there, watching like Girlfriends or Moesha, like those sorts of TV shows really sort of influenced the way that I could see Black women in fashion specifically. And then, reading magazines. I was never like the Vogue reader or the Harper's Bazaar reader, even though I did end up working at Harper's Bazaar. It was much more the women's lifestyle magazine. So a Glamour and Elle was the thinking women's fashion magazine. So I read a lot of Elle. Marie Claire I loved because they talked about work and career, and that's always been super important to me. So that's the way that I sort of like consumed fashion. It was much more in context, less like fantasy.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Are
there any specific moments or outfits that are imprinted onto your brain at this point? Like an outfit that stood the test of time?
Ooh, that's interesting. A lot of what Joan Clayton, so Tracy Ellis Ross on Girlfriends, a lot of what she wore just is like sort of in the background of my mind. So there's always, I'm very into like a white tank top, a large green like army fatigue pant, and a heel and a big hoop earring. That's like the ideal sort of outfit for me. And I think Tracy even has posted that like that's a consistent style that she wears.
I co-sign this. This is great. Yeah, I feel like you could wear this starting from when we were born to now, and it's still relevant.
Totally.
Okay, so then you attend the University of Virginia. Were you studying journalism or fashion?
No, I was studying sociology.
That's a leading question.
Right? No, I studied sociology because UVA at the time didn't have a communications program. My cohort was the first cohort that started the media studies minor, but that's all we had. So anyone who wanted to get into media, you either like studied English or you studied history. Was a big sort of like, not throwaway major, but it was a big major for people who didn't like have journalism or that sort of thing. And then, or sociology. And I really liked sociology. Mostly, obviously, I love talking to people. I liked sort of the classes that were in the sociology curriculum. So it's like women in media, race in the media. All of that stuff has always been like really interesting to me. So that's what I studied. And then I moved to New York after college, like 2 weeks after college in 2007. And I've been here ever since.
No, did you know going into UVA what you wanted to pursue?
I didn't exactly. I think I had always just been like, I want to work in a magazine. I never knew sort of like what the jobs were to work in magazines. And I knew that I didn't want to work at a newspaper. I was pretty clear on that. And I didn't do like college newspaper or any of that sort of stuff. I knew I wanted to maybe be in fashion, but again, I didn't really know what that looked like. And then when I got one of my first internships, it was in the PR department at Domino magazine, which unfortunately RIP doesn't, well, maybe it kind of exists still, but it didn't exist the way it did at Condé Nast. And so, or it doesn't anymore. But so I got that internship at Domino, and pretty early on they were like, I don't know. Like, I have a friend who has an opening in the department at Glamour. Do you want to interview for that role? And I was like, yes. That's, I think, where I want to go and be. And that started everything.
I'm going to come back to everything. I want to understand a little bit more in school. Or I guess I have questions about your major.
Yeah.
I would assume that a sociology background is helpful for working in media and fashion. Do you put that experience to use often, do you feel like? Do you even think about it?
I don't think that there's like a critical sort of like, like race theory or something that I really put to work, but there is just a lot of like critical thinking and analyzing and studying that you do in these sociology classes, and things that you just maybe are not cognizant of. So the way that people are portrayed in media, I think, really illustrates that's like what I kind of control today in my job. So it dovetails or it lines up quite nicely. But I don't think in studying sociology that I knew that this is where I would end up.
It's such an interesting choice of major, especially given your background in consumption of media and like contextualizing it. Like that's different and unique, and I think has lent itself to the career that you have.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you think people who want to be fashion editors today need to study journalism or fashion. Do you think there's an advantage to that? Do you have any sort of guidance?
No, I don't think you need to. I think that you can study journalism in undergrad. Journalism grad school, I am unsure of because it's quite expensive. And so if you, from a very practical stance, if you were going to invest in grad school, I would say that it's probably, if you're going to go to grad school, like you should be, a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, like business, and I see those things as like trades, right? You should enter in some sort of trade. I think journalism, a lot of it, that learning is done on the street. Like a lot of the people that I work with who have gone to grad school are like, oh yeah, we had to go out and interview people in whatever neighborhood about whatever happened. And it's like, well, people do man on the street all the time. You can just do that. I think that what journalism school or grad school gives you is access to a network that you may not get otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think it's one of those that you just benefit from doing. So the like school papers, stuff like that.
Yes, because a lot of it is the repetition and it's the practice of doing things.
And the feedback loop, like getting into that.
And getting used to truly getting used to getting feedback. I think a lot of people do not get feedback anymore, or the feedback that they get is always positive. And you need, I don't know, I've always felt that I have really benefited from somebody just sort of like taking a red pen to my text and just being like, no, try again.
We love millennials here at Work Friends. That's a millennial quality for sure. All right, so back to work, and you may have mentioned this. How did you get your foot in the door with Domino?
My sister knew somebody who was just like looking for an intern. And this was like really, really early days Domino. This is probably like the first, I don't even know if they had like really, really launched yet. So she knew somebody, and this is when Condé Nast's program was not as above board as it is now. But we love an above board program. But she got me in the door, and then from there it was just sort of like I jumped from place to place.
And I'm curious, at this stage of career, it's obviously so early on, and we were really just in survival mode in your early 20s. It's like, whoever will hire me, I'm in.
Yeah, and I'll do whatever.
But did you have your sights set on the title that you have today, editor-in-chief? Was that...
No. Okay. I actually distinctly remember somebody asking me when I was an editorial assistant at InStyle if I wanted to be editor-in-chief, and I said, no, that sounds like too much work. It is a lot of work, so I wasn't wrong.
And here we are today.
And here I am. And I think I said no just because I couldn't really fathom it, honestly. And I didn't know the title and what you do as an editor-in-chief. I know we're going to get into this, but it just has changed so much that I couldn't have...
landscape.
Yeah. And I think that, this was in 2010, probably 2009, that this person asked me that. And it was just a completely different job. Mm-hmm. I was like, nah, it sounds like too much work.
Mm-hmm. It's hilarious. Okay, so we have established that we are millennials. I want to hear what the landscape of fashion media was like when you, in the 2009, 2010. I just know from my own experience, I was working in banking in Chicago, but it's like the world has changed so much.
Yeah.
But I think it's especially changed in fashion media.
Yeah, so I graduated in 2007. And I got like the last days of disco, honestly. Like the budgets were still there, kind of ending a little bit though. Like,
well, how did the economic collapse impact?
So that happened in 2008.
Yeah.
And so I truly got like the lights were coming on, right? And it was definitely like, all right, guys, we're gonna have to start tightening up. But I was also at Condé Nast at the time, and I think, Condé Nast recently has become much more fiscally responsible. But I think in 2007, there was a concentration on just like the creative, and that is a really lovely place to be when you're young because you just see all of these incredible image makers all around you spending a lot of money, and it's just and it was fine. I think that when you have that sort of money, it like frees you up to just like think big, right? There's no sort of like, we can't do that because we don't have the budget for it. It was just like, we'll figure it out.
But isn't that the conflict with fashion? Like at your role, you're probably getting paid nothing, and then there are these like massive budgets, and you have to like present an image, Devil Wears Prada, like that whole thing.
Yeah. It's funny for somebody who does not do numbers that well. A lot of my job is doing numbers or working with people to like figure those things out. And it's a lot of you have to think about that constantly. I think what has been really great for me though is because I started in 2007, I remember a tiny bit of the old days, but I've lived most of my work career like in the scrappy days. Mm-hmm. And so having that sort of it's the best of both worlds. Like I don't yearn for the days of past, and I'm not nostalgic for the days of past because I didn't have them. So I'm not stuck on that, right? I'm very forward thinking in the way that we can make media. Now I am nostalgic in the days of old digital media. I do yearn sort of for that before like SEO was a thing that we really had to think about, and we could just throw things at the wall and see what stuck. And there wasn't a huge concentration on like traffic. It was just sort of like make the fun things, make the weird things, and it'll do well eventually. Mm-hmm. I miss that, but I don't yearn for the like black car because I never had it.
Yeah. 2025 is a thing of the past, and so are generic New Year's resolutions. In 2026, it's all about what's tailored to you, and that goes for your wardrobe too. As always, Argent delivers a tailored start to 2026 with sharp suiting silhouettes, luxurious Italian fabrics, and always chic styles that exude confidence so you can get down to business, or whatever else you're planning this year. See what Argent has in store at argentwork.com. I think that in the work is where I imagine it becomes challenging. And I've seen it from my side, which is building a brand now for 11 years. And I've seen such a change over time, but it really has become more pay to play in a lot of aspects. And you miss opportunities for journalists to tell stories that they really want to be telling. And I'm sure there's inherent risk in that, but that authenticity, I think, really comes through for the readers.
Yeah, and for me, when I think about the kind of work that we're doing at Marie Claire, I think in the buckets, right? So like you have that bucket where perhaps only 4,000 people are going to see this, but those are 4,000 really incredible key eyeballs that we need. And then we do the Jennifer Lawrence stepped out in a pair of Adidas sneakers because that keeps the lights on, and that's fine, right? Like the Marie Claire woman contains multitudes. We'll give her everything and hope that she enjoys it all.
What you're doing really is remarkable, and we're going to talk about that. But you've had to evolve to this new normal. And I think you have a lot more pressure than maybe editor. I think it's a different kind of pressure.
It's a different kind of pressure for sure.
Can you walk us through the steps you went through? Because you went to a number of different publications. So started at Domino, shorter stint there.
Yeah.
Went to Glamour. Was that next?
Yep. So I interned at Glamour, and then went back to UVA. Did a year at UVA. Came back to New York. After that, I interned at Harper's Bazaar, which was. A Bazaar internship is is a finishing ground. Like that's where you learn this is how fashion people behave, right? And you carry that with you, for better or for worse.
How do fashion people behave?
It wasn't quite Devil Wears Prada, but there was a sort of you have a respect for the editors, and those are the editors, and this is what you wear to work, and you behave in this way. Like you present your boards for the season, your trend boards for the season in this way, and they are cut this way and they are pinned that way. And I was like, okay, great. There's a standard of excellence, right? So then I went back to UVA after that, graduated, didn't have a job, typical. And I moved to New York without a job. I interned at Elle.com. My old editor from Glamour and Bazaar was now at Elle. And he was running the website there, and so he let me intern for him. I worked there, and I worked part-time at my brother-in-law's wine shop on the Upper West Side. And I did that until I got a full-time job at Vanity Fair. And Vanity Fair was the place where I was like, whoa, this is... I think I was so naive now looking back on what I was stepping into. I knew that my boss was Anna Wintour's kind of stepdaughter at the time, but I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, this is interesting. I don't know what this really means. Or I knew that Graydon Carter was the editor-in-chief then, but I don't really know what that means in the media landscape. So needless to say, I was a fish out of water. It was not a fit. For better or for worse, I think I was just this is, me. I'm like, this isn't it for me. So I left and I went to InStyle, and that felt much more me, much more sort of regular, but not regular in a bad way, just much more okay, I know this. I know the woman who reads InStyle. My sorority sisters are reading InStyle, right? So I went and I worked at InStyle as an editorial assistant, as an assistant editor, and it was right around that time that websites started being a thing. Magazines had their own websites, and they weren't quite dumping grounds, but they weren't quite the cool integral thing that websites are today. So when I was at InStyle, I started writing for the website a little bit because I had a good girlfriend who had her own blog, and she always had really great experiences, and she would take me to these events that she could go to. Coach would give her a bag because she was a blogger.
Who is it?
Jenny Radosevich. She's not even really in the blogging world anymore. She flips houses in Milwaukee now.
Good for Jenny.
Incredible. But she opened my eyes to what the blogging internet world could afford you. And I was like, I want that. This print world is very... the hierarchy is very rigid. I don't know if I can move up here, but I think if I can start, I called it sort of internal freelancing. If I can write for the website, still do my print media job here, then I can learn about digital on the job and then hopefully leave and go work at a website. That was the strategy, right? So I did. I was able to parlay that into a job at glamour.com. But it was interesting because the job at glamour.com was a permalance job. So I left my full-time job with benefits to go work at Condé Nast, and I gave up my benefits, and I negotiated that they would pay me enough to be able to pay for Cobra. And then hopefully by the time my Cobra ran out, they would be able to hire me on full-time and give me benefits. That was like the goal.
This is the kind of risk-taking we love to hear about here at Work Friends.
And everyone was like, I don't know. First of all, you're going to work on a website. And I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. And then, my parents are like, no 401k, no benefits. I don't even think I actually told them, honestly. I think I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. It's great. Thankfully, I got benefits, right? I got health insurance, so I wasn't paying out of pocket for Cobra. But that was probably the first big risk that I took in my job, where I was just kind of like, I'll figure it out. I just need to get to Condé Nast because it's Condé Nast, right? And so I was at Glamour for, I think ultimately it came out to be 5 years or so. And then I had a friend, Danielle Prescott, was leaving her job at Elle.com. And she had given me the heads up that she was leaving. And I was like, do you think I should apply for that job? She was like, yeah, I think Leah would love you, Leah Chernikoff. And she was like, I think she'd love you. So yeah, I think you should apply for the job. I was like, okay, great. I applied for the job, I got it, and that was wow. Working at Elle.com was an Avengers squad. It's really crazy. That's where I met Maddie Kahn. That's where I met Sally Holmes. Yep. That's where I met Estelle Tang, who works at The Guardian, Justine Harmon, a great writer. Every single person, Leah Chernikoff, executive editor at Harper's Bazaar, Samira Nasser, editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar, that work environment was insane. Truly, we got to do kind of whatever we wanted because we were Hearst Digital Media, and Hearst Print was still the cash cow, but they were trying to invest in digital, and so we literally sat in a different building around the corner. They broke us out and away from print, and that was a finishing school for how you do digital, really. And I was there for 5 years, and we did incredible things. I got to go to Milan and Paris and do fashion weeks. And it was really fun because the digital teams, when people looked at digital during that time, they were like, we know we're supposed to care about it, but we kind of don't really get it. So the digital editors all banded together of all of the different places, because that was also a time where if you worked at Vogue or if you worked at Elle, we were rivals still. But everyone who worked on the digital teams were like, well, no one cares about us anyway, so we're all together. We're all sort of the outcast misfits over here in the corner, but are slowly gaining the power.
Of course.
Because this is simultaneous at a time where Dolce & Gabbana is sitting Brian Boy and, the sartorialists and Garant Story front row, because they know they're supposed to care about digital too. So we're all sort of on this track together. Did some really amazing things at Elle, and then towards the end of Elle, I think I was just kind of burnt out, honestly, of that the grind there, and so I went to GQ, and I worked
about the GQ.
Yeah, I did my bid in menswear for a little bit, where I worked with predominantly straight men. I'd never done that before, so that was a teachable moment as well, a learning experience, and I met some really, really incredible fashion editors there. The guys really took pride in their work. They taught me how to just say it straight, no dancing around, no sugarcoating, that sort of thing. And so I learned a lot, especially from observing Will Welch and the way that he creates ecosystem around GQ. It was just so incredible. Tell me if this is really long. There are only two more steps.
Yeah, this is great.
So from there, I was at GQ for a year and a month or so, and then the pandemic hit. So I started there in November 2019. We were sent to work from home in March. And then I left in November 2020 when Samira and Leah came calling, and they said that, we have this job. And again, it was so funny because if anyone asked me if I'd wanted to be a digital director, I'd been like, no, that's too much work. I like being a fashion editor. I like being in my silo. But these jobs don't open up quickly, or they don't open up often. And I'm never one to sort of turn down an experience because I'm intimidated by it. I'm a very quick study. I'm sure I've always trusted that I could figure it out. So they came calling. I got the job at Bazaar, and I loved working with Samira. I loved working with Leia. It just was a great sort of like management finishing ground for me. It really was the first time that I'd ever managed a team of that scale. And after Bazaar, Hillary Kerr came, and she reached out to me about the editor-in-chief job at Marie Claire. Again, it was one of those moments where I knew that Sally was leaving, and Sally was like, I think Hillary's going to call you. And I was like, for what? What is she calling me for? And she was like, I think she's going to call you about the editor-in-chief job. And I was like, no, we'll see. Like, I don't know. And then she did. And I remember distinctly, I was talking to her on the phone, and I was like, to confirm, you are calling me for this editor-in-chief role? And she was like, yes, I am. You are it. You are the one person. And I got the job, and I've been there for the past 2 years.
You've been, and you've touched on these now, at some of the biggest fashion mastheads, print and digital, InStyle, Glamour, Elle, Harper's, GQ. What role did mentors play in your career?
I had a lot of peer mentors, and that's why I think that peer mentorship is so important. There wasn't always somebody that I could look up to up the masthead and say, like, that's who I wanted to be in the future. But I had then, and I still have so much respect for the men and women that I've worked for, and they have guided me through all steps of my life, all steps of my work career. I think my ultimate mentor is my sister, right? Like, she is older than me, and she has, as I said, paved so many roads for so many Black journalists. But the fashion world is very different from the magazine world. It's very different from, her sort of like New York Times is very different from my InStyle, Elle, those sorts of things. The fashion world specifically, and the fashion world is a very specific world, as you know. So it's very different. So I look to peer mentors a lot then. And I always say that when Nina Garcia became editor-in-chief at Elle, it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, a fashion person can be an editor-in-chief. And so that's cool. Piqued my interest. I was like, okay, it's available to me.
Yeah. I think you touched on this a little bit with the Vanity Fair move, because you did a lot of transitions, and was there one that really stood out as being the wrong move, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, Vanity Fair was challenging. I just sort of was like, I don't know how to do this, and I was so young too, like 21, working at a very like mature adult place.
By do this, do you mean like the actual
like
work, or is
all
it
of it? Yeah, all of it. Like, I was in charge of keeping somebody's calendar, and listen, I'm not good at logistics, so that was like not what I should have been doing. I think the informal politics of it all, like knowing the who's who, like, oh, that person's family donated art to the Louvre, or the person who had this job before me, their dad is a CEO at whatever company. Like, my parents worked at Staples and CVS. Like, incredible people, incredible jobs, but like New York elite is a different world that I just did not know about or really even understand how to navigate. And then you toss in the Vanity Fair, and then you toss in the Condé Nast of it all, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, I think it's especially prevalent in fashion too. There's a lot of privilege. It's very similar to Ivy League experiences, I think, where it's like a lot of people are coming in legacy, and they just have these like cheat sheets and access and privilege that you don't even think about. And I think it does very much exist in fashion.
Yeah, and we're all sort of like pretending like we're on the same level, but like we're not. Like, we're not from the same financial backgrounds. We don't summer together. I didn't even know that summer was a verb. You know, it's those sorts of things where it's sort of like, okay, we are on different playing grounds, but as I said, I'm a very fast study.
Yes.
So I can learn it extremely quickly. You just have to put the book in front of me, and I will memorize it back and forth.
100%. It's the awareness that's so important. And I think this is true for women. I think it's especially true for Black women. Like, you have to have an acute sense of who's who and all this informal like bullshit that's happening around the actual job, because it's not about the actual job.
Yeah. I realized, I think at maybe InStyle, I realized that if I can just pay attention and be extremely observant, then I can play this game very well.
Yeah.
And it is a game.
Yes.
Right? It's a game at the end of the day. And for me, it was sort of like, okay, my one friend who's doing the thing outside of her, Jenny was a graphic designer. She had this blog, and then the fashion brands flocked to her because of this blog. Okay, I need a blog. I don't want to start on my own blog, so what do? I learn how to do it while I'm getting paid to do this other job. And so there's always the like doing what's the internal freelance job that I can do. And so when I worked at Glamour, I worked on the digital side, but I wrote for print. And I always have done this sort of like back and forth dance and known that if I can hop from place to place a little bit, I won't get stuck. Mm-hmm. I'll make the openings, right? Because a lot of moving around in the fashion world is also keeping your ear to the ground about the movements, about what's happening. So then you can prime yourself and be ready for if that person does leave. Okay, then like my resume is ready. I can start like getting things in order. So if they come calling, then I'll be ready.
Totally. I mean, I think that this is transferable to all industries. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that there are some stereotypes that, I mean, rightfully so within fashion. But it's about building up your skill set and making yourself valuable. Yeah. And having relationships in place that keep you top of mind for folks when they are looking to fill open roles, like Hillary was looking to do for Marie Claire. Yeah. Did you have any hesitations about taking this job?
I did. Yeah, I did. I was hesitant about the idea of building something new. I knew that Marie Claire has this incredible 30-year legacy of being a place for women of power and purpose and style. But what does that mean in 2023 at the time? Like, what does that mean then? I knew that we had just been sold to a new company, so we weren't at Hearst anymore. What does that mean to go work at a UK-based company like Future, which I'd never heard of before Sally and before Hillary had started working there? What does it mean that I'm going to lead a team? Like, I have to be in charge of 25 people now
and do their reviews
and hire them and find them. And whoa, that's, you're stepping into this sort of big role. So I was hesitant about that stuff. And then frankly, I was hesitant about like, what does this mean for my outside life? Like, I want to get married soon. I want to have a kid soon. Like all of the things, how does this sort of like fit in? Like how do these Lego pieces like fit together? So I was hesitant about all of that, but I also knew these jobs don't come around often. So you kind of got to go.
Yeah. And I would argue that it was a great choice on the part of Hillary, but it's a great move for you too. So it's one of those win-win situations.
Yeah. And for me, I knew that while I love fashion and I love the fashion industry, I think the great thing about Marie Claire is that our reader does care about career and she cares about politics. And so I could fold in those other parts into like my personal life and in the work that we create at Marie Claire. And it's like, it's not weird.
Yeah,
like it all makes sense together.
Yeah, totally. And it's meaningful to you. I think it aligns with your values. Yeah. For those who don't know, can you break down what an editor-in-chief of a fashion publication in 2025, 2026 does? Yeah. And what are the misconceptions about the job?
Yeah. I mean, I have said that I'm sort of like the cruise ship director. Or I'm
way to glamorize it.
Way to glamorize it. It can be quite glamorous. I do the programming. I look good. I wear my little jaunty hat. I do the things. But you really are the sort of steward for making sure that the storytelling and that the positioning across all of the platforms and the extensions are aligned with each other. So for me coming in, I knew that we had print and I knew that we had digital, but it was making sure that it was about, okay, what else can we add? So I knew I wanted to start a newsletter. I knew I wanted to start a podcast. I knew I wanted to continue to evolve our event series, Power Play. And so how do those sort of like 5 things stay consistent across all of that messaging and platforming? And so it's really about having this North Star that I work towards. And my North Star was that I wanted it to feel, and all of the programming across all of the platforms, I wanted to feel like a group chat of your most ambitious friends. And so when I think about what we're putting on the site and who I'm inviting on my podcast and what I'm writing about in my newsletter, like it all has to feel like you would find this in a group chat of your most ambitious friends.
This. Yeah, this is a great segue into one of the biggest themes of Marie Claire under your leadership's power. There's the annual Power Play event that you mentioned, which I had the great fortune to attend in LA. It was incredible. Your ability to curate like community and bring together people from all backgrounds is like bar none.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot because I feel like you are able to do the same.
Well, thank you. I feel the same comment back to you. It was so impressive though to just see you. It feels like you just don't miss anything or forget anyone, and it's really thoughtful. It's very valuable to the people that have like the opportunity to join.
I appreciate that.
Because for me and starting Argent, it was like, how do we bring together women who wouldn't connect otherwise,
totally,
in a way that benefits them beyond the brand and like beyond what we're building, because we need to achieve gender equity. All boats rise with the tide. Like, how do we play a role in that? Because we can become really siloed
easily.
So the other thing, so there's the annual Power Play event, as well as the publications Power Mom list this past year, also incredible. That event, also great. But there have been so many conversations about power happening now. Given the state of our world and politics, what do you think will define power in 2026? Just a light question.
What will define power in 2026? I mean, the ability to make your own, honestly. So many people are telling us what women should be doing, how women should be doing things, who women should be. And the ability to define it on our own terms and the dedication to defining it on our own terms is, I think, going to be, that's 2026 in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think what I've observed, I mean, if you look at the generation above us, these women were intentionally pitted against one another. That's the consistent theme that we're up against in a patriarchal society. There's one job at this law firm to be a partner for a woman. It's going to be like 20 males, but for the 10 women that are vying for this position, look inward and like you're going head to head with one another. Yes. And so I think the beauty of like what they went through is that our generation has inherited an awareness of that. And so we are very much all boats rise with the tide.
Totally.
Like I recognize that that's what you're trying to do, and that's bullshit. And I'm going to call bullshit on that. I think now it's graduated into this like trad wife conversation of you can be a mom or you can work, and those things are mutually exclusive, and like let's create again some noise and like this separation between these two groups, and I resent that wholeheartedly.
Yes.
And it's not a binary choice. And that is not the world that we live in at all, and we live in a very different world than our moms did too. A lot of our moms didn't work, and I think now the economy demands that women do work. And it's also not work or family. It can be work and family.
I think it's the best. I have always said that my favorite women to work for or to assist were moms. Hands down the best, because they played no games. They're like, listen, I got to do this job, and I got to go pick up my kid. I got to get out of here. I'm not farfing around, like wasting time. Like the efficiency is admirable. And I knew that I wanted to have kids in the future, and I knew that, and I know that I want that, and I know that I am an ambitious person. And so working for moms, that behavior was always sort of like a North Star for me. I knew that I could model it.
And totally. It's that different lived experiences coming to the table. There's so much value in. What power do you want to see more women wielding when it comes to work in 2026?
What power do I want to see women wielding more? I think to your point, it's the sort of like not selling the false narrative that you can have it all at once. Like, you may not want it all. You may drop some balls, and that's fine, right? Like, I think the idea of work-life balance, quote unquote, is a fallacy, and that really sets a lot of people up, a lot of women up, that I think that brings a lot of it sort of turns up a lot of feelings of guilt in women a lot. And I think that we could stand to let that go and step into the power of sort of like not having it all and it's fine.
I love that.
Or
Yeah.
not having it all at once.
Yes. I think that there is a stigma around all of these things intentionally. And it's like, how do we reclaim, like what you're saying, how do we reclaim our own power?
Like no one asks a man, and I hate to be like no one asks a man, but
Yes.
but nobody asks a man like, how do you balance it all?
Yes.
It's like, what do you...
Totally.
You just do it. I also think for me, like when people are like, how do you do it all? It's like, oh, I don't have a choice. And it's very I think integral and important to really vocalize, like, I don't have a safety net, and that's fine, right? Like other people have safety nets, but like I have gotten to this position, and I have strived to get to this position in my career because I don't have a trust fund.
I do think that just being kind to ourselves and kind of ignoring all the stigma people are trying to place on us, and
and the idea that you have to do it this way, or
no, exactly.
you should do it this way. As
Totally.
a good mom, you should do it this way, or as a working mom, or as a woman in media, you should do it this way. It's funny, my fiance and I talk a lot about free will and how you can choose to do things however you want to do them. And I always say that you should be an active participant in your own life, and you don't have to take things as they come to you, and you can say, you know what, I don't like that, or I don't like that system, or maybe I don't want to buy into that system, maybe I have to do it in a different way. And that work to do it in a different way can be challenging, but it is there. It's a choice that you can make.
I had an incredible boss at Cisco that recognized that we all operate differently. We all need different things. I think that's what you're speaking to. And she told me day one on the job, whatever it is that you need to do to like show up as your best self, I want you to do it. If you have to disappear at noon to go on a run every day and go to the gym, you do that. If you need to sleep in and come in late because you're not a morning person, do that. If you need to, whatever it is, if you need to take a chunk of time in the middle of the day to go be with your kids, you do that. Didn't have kids at the time. But like, for me, it is, and we share this, I think, but like I need some sort of exercise. I need to have 30 minutes to an hour of just like cardio. But I thought that was like such great advice. And I do think that is free will and reclaiming, like a bit of a reclaiming. Yeah. Where I don't need to be at a desk from 8 to 5 if I'm not productive and I'm not my best self, and I'm not my happiest here.
Right. Like you don't have to be the cog in the machine.
Yeah.
Like you can figure out different ways of doing it, and the work is in the figuring out the different way to do it, but like you can figure it out.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, okay, this episode's coming out in a few weeks at the start of the new year. I think, are you our first episode in 26? Yay!
Yes!
Okay, Happy New Year, everyone.
I love it.
January 12th.
Ooh, I love it.
What a great day. Let's hope.
I am indeed a Capricorn.
When's your birthday?
January 17th.
I do remember this because we're Earth signs.
Yeah. Yes. You know, I love an Earth sign.
Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus.
Taurus. My fiance's a Taurus.
Oh, we love a Taurus. We love a Leo too, Gina.
We do. They're fun.
Okay, so what can you share about what we can expect from Marie Claire next year?
Oh, we've got some great things coming up next year. So January will be our mogul issue, which I'm really excited about.
Can you spill the January cover star if we don't disclose?
Ooh.
We can edit it out if we need to.
Yes. I think it may be breaking on the 12th. If that is the case, then it's Keke Palmer.
Oh my God, I love Keke Palmer.
Which I'm really excited about. We shot her in Australia. She's there filming a show, so we shot her in Australia. And Keke Palmer, to me, and it's written by Danielle Prescott, so it's like a meetup of incredible minds. I love Keke Palmer. I've been obsessed with her ever since I worked at Elle. I think she's the epitome of what a modern-day mogul can look like. February will be in LA. We're doing a power play dinner in LA for All-Star Weekend. I'm very excited.
If you need me to join, I'm happy to join. You know that basketball is my favorite thing on the planet.
Exactly. Yeah. There are so many women who work in sports or are sports adjacent, whether they are, WAGs or they're agents or they're stylists or whatever, owners of teams. And so I said, and I really challenged my team with this one, but they always rise to a challenge. I was like, I would really love to do a dinner in LA to show up and say that, like, yes, we, of course, support women athletes, but we also support women who are sort of like in the background of male-dominated sports, of male sports, and really sort of like plant our flag there. And so we'll be taking Power Play to LA for All-Star Weekend. March is our print March issue, and then we're doing Power Moms again in May.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
With Moms First.
With Moms First, yeah, with Reshma Sujani and Moms First.
Yeah, Reshma's incredible, and that event last year was really spectacular.
Thank you. I thought that, we talked a lot about motherhood here, and it's funny. I don't have kids, but I am a big supporter of moms and motherhood because I know that that's what I want in the future, but also because there's just nowhere I found that has said like we really care about moms.
Sad.
It's sad. It's so sad.
It's so true that when you're pregnant, society's like, oh, let me hold the door. Oh my gosh, let me help you. And then the second that kid was out, it's like, you can do everything yourself.
Do everything yourself.
Really, you feel it. Like you feel it on the deepest of levels. But yes, then there are things like paid, like common sense, paid leave, and care, like supporting caregivers.
Totally.
The list goes on and on.
Totally.
So I think, and I also think what you all have done really well is just redefining, I think, what moms can be.
Yes.
One, stay-at-home mom's hardest job in the world. So I'm just going to start by saying that. But two, you can be a mom and cool. Like, it's just
right.
like,
and it feels so, like, when you say it out loud, it's like, motherhood is cool. Mm-hmm. But it's like, it is. Mm-hmm. Like, the women who were at that event were powerhouses.
Yes.
And they were well dressed and they were fun and they got a little drunk and we all had a good time. You know, like it was really incredible. And you see these women like Olympia Gaillot from J. Crew or Gabrielle Union was on the cover. Callie Uchis, the musical artist, the singer was also on our cover. And Callie specifically was like, this is such a great honor. Like women are not honored for motherhood. They're honored for work. And I think that at Marie Claire, you can be honored for both. And so that was really important for us to have this event. Yeah,
it was incredible. And especially memorable for me because I got to meet Dwayne Wade that night. So thank you.
Exactly. Ally. No kidding.
He's an ally. He's so special. Okay. I'd love to close this out by asking for advice. What do you think it takes to make it as a fashion editor today? And what's one thing you'd recommend someone do if they're aspiring to a role like yours?
Yeah. To make it, I think, as a fashion editor or, a writer, editor, like you really have to be somebody who's going to take matters into their own hands. Like nothing in this industry is given to you. I think people, similar to New Yorkers in general, like we're kind and we will help, but you have to ask. Like you really have to raise your hand. So you have to be a self-starter. You have to be resourceful, I think is also top of the tops. Like you have to be able to, if you have a problem, bring me a solution. Like those sorts of things I think will really help you stand out.
Love. Closing segment. We've come to the end of our episode. My favorite segment, Would You Rather?
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Would you rather start work at the crack of dawn or burn the midnight oil?
Crack of dawn.
Would you rather write on a tight deadline or write on a loose deadline?
Tight deadline.
Would you rather go back to school to learn a new skill or teach what you know to a class of newcomers?
Go back to school.
Would you rather have an industry icon on the cover of Marie Claire or the next huge star?
Oof. Okay, for both because
boo.
I know it's tough. What will sell? Industry icon. What I would like? Next big star.
Oh, love. Okay. Would you rather marathon run or marathon fashion week schedule?
Ooh, marathon run.
Would you rather only answer emails with emojis or only answer calls on FaceTime?
Calls on FaceTime.
Ah, love that answer.
Yeah.
Would you rather wear only sneakers to work or only heels?
Sneakers.
Would you rather accidentally leave your mic unmuted or your camera on?
Oof. Oh my God, both are bad. I have a slick mouth. Yikes. I think camera on, honestly.
Same. We have high standards as Capricorn, Virgos, Earth signs. Would you rather start a career as a fashion journalist in the early aughts or in the present day?
Ooh. I think early aughts, like the 2000s. Yeah, early aughts.
Yeah. I think that's the right answer. Nikki, you are doing incredible work at Marie Claire. I've said it a number of times, but it really is So fun to see. Honored to have a front row seat. And when this airs, the January issue will be out. So please find more information in the show notes. Nikki, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. So fun.
Thanks for listening to Work Friends, a podcast from Argent. Listen and follow on all podcast platforms. Subscribe to the Argent YouTube channel for more clips and bonus content. And follow us on Instagram at Argent for all the latest. And before you go, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and leave a comment. It means so much to us. I'm Sally Christensen, and we'll see you next time.
Work Friends.
Work Friends is produced by Gina Marinelli with editing by Ryan Woldoff. Our theme music is by Karina DePiano and Melanie Naima. This episode was recorded at Podstream Studios in New York, New York.